Hi, guys. Welcome to Real Food Recovery. We have a special guest who is coming back to us, and we are thrilled to have her today with us. And let me tell you a little bit about Caren Paskel. She is a best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and lifelong student of Vedanta.
Vedanta.
Vedanta philosophy and yoga. Her journey into personal development began with a spiritual awakening at 16, which shaped a life devoted to self mastery, conscious creation, and integrating ancient wisdom into modern living. After navigating profound personal loss, including caring for her husband through terminal brain cancer while running a business during the pandemic. Caren transformed grief into purpose. Today, she teaches and embodies resilience through her writing, retreats, online programs, and her newly launched private luxury yoga practice, offering deeply personalized experiences for those seeking longevity, clarity, and alignment. Through books such as The Power of Self-Belief and From Midlife Crisis to Midlife Creation, Caren empowers midlifers and widows to move from collapse to authorship, turning life's most challenging moments into meaningful new beginnings. Now based in the Colorado Rockies, she inspires others to create lived roots in purpose, vitality, and inner freedom. On this episode of Real Food Recovery, we welcome back Caren to talk about stepping into a new chapter, trusting yourself, and making choices that truly nourish your body and life. She shares her journey from feeling stuck in fear to creating a life she loves, and we explore how her lessons can help anyone recovering from ultra processed food habits, which we love to have her, and she is a font of wisdom. Ironically, I too recently lost my husband, which is new. And so I'm into a new chapter of my life. And so let's start out by asking her. I love her philosophy around this chapter of midlife creation instead of crisis. Huge, right? Because we can reframe anything. And especially for our audience that is listening in, reframing is vital for us that are striving to get through recovery. So for someone, Caren, I'm first of all, I want to say welcome to you. Glad that you are back with us today. And if you want to start out addressing the question for someone struggling with processed food, how can they see recovery as building something new instead of giving something up and incorporate that into this midlife creation instead of crisis?
That is such a powerful question. And Paige, thank you so much for having me again. We have such great chemistry, and I'm
Agree.
so happy to be back here. It feels like I've known you forever as well. Just
I feel that way too.
we just have that soul
Symbiotic.
connection.
Yeah.
The
Uh-huh.
soul sisters.
We are.
Lots in common. And I really, this is the one thing that I focused on with my recreation, my recovery in life, and going from losing my soulmate, my beloved husband, and my yoga studios all at the same time. But I realized that if I focus on, and this was the beginning of my book, The Power of Self-Belief. I have a very strong statement in the beginning, and it was like I had this moment where I knew that the choice to focus on what I had lost would take me down, or to focus on what I had gained and what I can create, that was going to move me forward. And I just decided that I love being a leader, because as a leader, I'm always thinking about my clients, community, people watching me online. I show up every day and create content, educational content. And so that motivates and inspires me to think about what is the best decision, not just for me, but also for everybody watching me around me. And you may not know this. Some people who know me know this, but I'm very introverted. So it's not natural for me to want to be in front of a lot of people, but I realize that I have the capacity to hold space and to make powerful change from within. And when we make our own changes, there is a ripple effect. And I've gotten to see that very, very closely, mostly with my husband. He was this very masculine energy. He was a leader himself, but when he got sick, I stepped into that masculine energy because I had to. I
Right.
really had to take the lead on everything, caring
Yep.
for him, on business, on the home. I ran everything. And, you know, it was powerful to step into that place and take on some leadership there. But what I want to say is the example that I set for him influenced him and helped him have quality of life through declining in brain cancer. So even then, he and I both focused on not all the things that might happen, what we lost, our businesses, a lot of his functionality, his memory, his speech, all these things. We kept focusing on what we could create with what we had. And that's what not only kept our relationship so strong, and it just empowered both of us to keep having quality of life every single day,
Yeah.
with all the challenges. So when he died, I kept that going and just kept focusing on the beauty and the blessings from the relationship instead of falling into the victim mentality. That is so hard not to go there.
I
And
agree.
it doesn't mean that I didn't ever go there. I'm human. So I knew when I felt it mostly before he died. I went into that mentality of what am I going to do if he dies? How am I going to move forward? I
Yeah.
can't ever find anyone like him. And then
Mhm.
I realized that that wasn't going to help me or him. And so I
Mhm.
was able to shift and watch my mind and see how it affected me negatively and said, I'm going to choose something different. I'm going to empower myself. I'm also going to empower my husband to finish his book. I'm also going to show him that I'm going to be okay. And I built all these programs and started coaching and recreated my whole business. So that already started, and he was the catalyst. So, what I want to say to everybody is that your greatest loss and challenge and tragedy, it's actually happening for you. I know we don't want to
Right.
believe that and we don't want to think that, but the
Mhm.
truth is it's how you use it. And if you can have that very thing that hurts the most in your life be a catalyst, then it can turn into this beautiful blessing. Now I get to celebrate my husband every day because I'm celebrating life because of what I did with that. And, of course, I had a lot of support too. So I think just that question is like, it's focusing on what I'm going to create. And a lot of the
Mhm.
times, the reason it's so hard to do that and it's so much easier to focus on the loss is because you're in an unknown, uncharted territory.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really see it, but you can. You can use your imagination. You can start writing. You can start acting as if you're in this new creation, and you can build excitement for what your abilities, what maybe you might not even know, the gifts, the surprises, the unpredictability. So I had to get used to this way of living. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen. And you can either go into survival mode because you get so terrified, or you can go in this amazing excitement of being thrilled that you have a new chapter, which is what
Yeah.
we're talking about. That and you get to rewrite it. You
Yeah.
get to write as you go instead of the whole past that's already been written. So you don't want to get stuck in those old chapters because you won't be able to turn the page. But you
Mhm.
can bring them with you. You can bring the memories and the love and the energy and the storytelling. I love to keep my husband alive in
Mhm.
that way, energetically, but not get stuck in the tragedy and what happened and what I lost because
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to pull yourself up and out. And I
Yeah.
know the loved one wouldn't want you to do that either.
Yeah. That's interesting that you share all of that. I've told this little blip of a story about the night he passed. He passed like about midnight, and it was about 3 a.m. before he was in a rehab facility. He had broken his hip, so he was in a rehab. And then they unfortunately broke his neck in a wheelchair accident, which ended up leading to his death. But so I was leaving the rehab facility about 3 a.m. that morning, and as I walked out the room, I said out loud to myself, "Okay, Paige, this is this is when it's time to find out what you're made of and be brave." And I just remembered that is burnt into my memory that I had a decision to make. And the reason I said the word decision is because you said the word decision 3 times in what you were just telling me. And it just reinforce. It's a decision. You have to make not just a light decision, but you've got to make a hard
Mhm.
line in the sand decision. You're going to find out what you're made of when the chips are down, and you can go to the right or to the left, but it's completely in your control, and you get to decide what the future is going to look like, especially when you're facing tragedy. And quite frankly, re recovering from ultra processed food use disorder, when we're living in an environment where we are surrounded, it is difficult. And the thing that you don't want to do is be remaking that decision over and over and over. And you want to make one real firm decision
Yes.
and not be the victim of decision fatigue where you're remaking it over and over and over again. So I love everything you said. And you talk a little bit about trusting the unfolding, which is mimicking what you were just explaining. And basically, you're saying this is what happens when you trust the unfolding. Do you want to talk about what trusting life looks like when things feel uncertain or scary? Because that nothing holds us back more than our fears of the unknown. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yes.
So,
Yes.
trusting the unfolding, do you want to talk about that a little bit? That's huge, huge topic.
I say one of my affirmations every day is everything always works out for me.
Yeah,
Everything
I love
always
that.
works out for me. Everything
Hmm.
always unfolds in perfect divine timing. And
Hmm.
the only thing that can possibly get in the way is me. So
Hmm.
when we try to control things is actually when we start craving those processed foods as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's understanding that we have control over certain things and we
Yeah.
don't have control over other things, which we know the
Hmm.
serenity prayer, right? And we let go and we let God basically. So if I trust in myself, and that is trusting in God, there is no separation. We are divine. And,
Hmm.
there's a big ocean, there's a divine ocean, and then there's divine waves that are individuations, I call, and they come and go. So we're just this beautiful wave, but we've emerged from the ocean, we go back into the same ocean. And the only time there's ever a problem is when we believe that we're separate from divinity. And your godhood can be whatever you want it to be. We always talk about that in recovery as well. And so it's not doesn't have to be the same for me as it is for you, but it's understanding your divine nature. And so when you trust in yourself, that capital S, the higher self that you are, and you understand that you're not a body with a soul, you're a soul with a body. You're a divine
Yeah.
soul with a body. So if you can trust that, there was one therapy session I had years ago, and it was just funny because I was talking about some guy that I was dating, and I was going on about, well, what if he does this and what if he does that? And she just said something so simple and it was worth all the sessions I had with her, this one golden nugget. And she just said, well, you don't need to trust him. You just need to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And it reeled it back to me because that,
Hmm.
especially as a female, you have I mean, everybody has divine wisdom, but there's an intuition. There's a deeper wisdom and knowing. But when we get caught up in all the things outside of us that are happening or that have happened, we lose that deeper divine connection. And that's when we have so many problems. So that's why even today I said, I need to take rest today because I know that if I don't honor what I need, I get into that hustle, that go, that stress, the survivor, the fight or flight. Again, I get very disconnected. Then to feel grounded and connected, I want to reach for those people, places, and things that make me feel good in the moment that are addictive, that aren't good for me.
Right.
And there's this endless cycle.
Perfect.
So you have to be really conscious. And what the question is to yourself, what do I need to do right now to trust myself? And that is, oh, I need to come back. I need to get connected. Is it a yoga class? Is it some deep breathing? Is it um, going to the spa? Is it making a nourishing meal? Is it saying no to something or someone and just being quiet? Is it a walk in nature? Because when you come back to you and you get grounded, that trust is going to guide you and lead you every step of the way. But if you don't have that, you're not even going to hear your intuition. You're not going to hear that voice inside. It's very quiet and subtle. If everything else
Hmm.
is louder,
Right.
but when you've kind of, there's all the noise, right? But it becomes sort of a white noise because you're so tuned in, you can actually hear yourself. You can hear your divine voice. You can hear your deeper wisdom and intuition. And that's what I use on a daily basis because when you're living in the unknown, I want everyone to like really hear this. It means you're living in your future version of greatness now versus your programmed condition past. So you're not on that, I'll call it, the hamster wheel going
Hmm.
around and round. You're not in your old paradigm. And so what happens is because there's a paradigm shift, people get terrified of that. They don't know what it is. But that lets you know you're in this new beautiful chapter. So when you don't know what's happening, you get scared and you go backwards. But when you do, you realize, oh, this is what this new phase is. It's completely uncharted territory. It's a new paradigm. And it means I am in this new vision, version of greatness, this new chapter. And of course, it's going to feel a little unsettling. I have no idea what this is, but that's
Yeah.
actually the joy. That's when you start tapping into your playfulness, into your curiosity, into just going, okay, I wonder what today's going to bring. Like you're on this swing and it's just like a
Yeah.
playground. So
Hmm.
when you start living that more and more every day, you get used to that. And then it becomes really, really fun, I will tell you, and thrilling.
Yeah. You know, you're kind of describing choosing to be present instead of being afraid.
Yes.
So, do you want to talk about fear a little bit? Because on the surface, that sounds like a great idea. Don't be afraid, just be present and trust and all that. But how does that actually play out in real life when you're faced with situations, even with food choices of giving up, in air quotes, things that you loved for things that you know would be better for you long term, health wise, mental wise, physical wise, mental wise, every wise. You want to talk about how fear, how you handle fear, how you make it manageable, how it diminishes, and how you stay in that powerful state of I'm just going to be present and I choose not to be afraid. Again, sounds great, but in theory, how does that actually play out in life?
I did just make a really powerful reel about this. And I had remembered that there were specific times in my life when I had the most amount of fear. And for instance, I'll give you an instance. One of the examples I used was when I met my husband and we really, I don't say fell in love, we rose in love. We
Hmm.
elevated each other, but our age difference at the time, he was 24, I was 36, and I had a fear that, well, there was a couple things, you know, oh, I'm gonna age and when I'm 60 and he's whatever and he's not, I'm gonna look this way and is he still gonna want me that? All this stuff came up. And then there's the other fear of, well, he says he doesn't really want children, but he's 24, he might want children. I never want children. And all of these things, right, could have, and for a lot of people and most of my life coming, in before self-development and in my first 30, even 40 years of life, those fears would have stopped me and held me back. And my
Mhm.
choice would have been different. I would have said, I'm not going to do this because of the fear.
Mhm.
Instead, I leaned into it. I trusted myself. And the thing is, I would have missed out on marrying the love of my life. He died 6 years later. So those two fears, those didn't even come up. I didn't even get to experience whatever my mind was creating.
Right.
I was, he died. So, but I wouldn't even have ever had the love of my life, the 6 years with him, being a caregiver changed me into a stronger, better human being. Even
Mhm.
watching someone pass away, who you love so much, and that resilience to bounce back and still choose to live my life fully. So if I look back, I'm like, wow, I wonder who I would have been if I listened to that fear. And there were other instances where I wouldn't have experienced the most incredible experiences, the most growing experiences in my life had it been for. So what I say is that because there's discomfort when you're growing, your brain doesn't know the difference between discomfort of growth and a bear, which I have
Right.
experienced walking outside of my house, literally staring at a bear who just decided to jump into a dumpster. And he's looking at me, I'm looking at him. That fear I listened to, that instinct of run back into your house, that's the only time if you're really in a place where it's survival, where I don't want to see if this bear is going to attack me or not. I'm not going to second guess my brain. But that's like 1% of the time. The
Mhm.
99% other fears, you're not in a place where you're running from your life, or you need to save yourself, literally, right?
Mhm.
So that's where we get confused, and we have to take, if there's no bear and there's no saber-toothed tiger, then take a breath and ask yourself, am I full of you know what right now? Is
Mhm.
this my brain tricking me? And now my mind's going, trying to get me out of this, living my fullest life and these growth experiences. So that's really what it is. It's understanding your brain is always going to go to this survival. So in any moment of growth, when there's a challenge, you're going to hear some fears because of your brain. And you just have to say, oh, hi, thank
Yeah.
you. But
Yeah.
actually, I'm just going to lean into this. And that's not true. I just say to myself, that's actually not true. And where is this coming from? Once
Mhm.
you allow yourself to just lean in, because the moment you run away, what happens is that you, like you said, you lose the presence. You lose that present moment, and you go back into the old paradigm, and you're living subconsciously versus consciously. This is a new way of life. So you've got to practice this sort of, I'm just going to open my heart, and I think Michael Singer talks about it in his books a lot, of how to lean into all this mental chatter, that monkey mind, and
Mhm.
allow yourself to actually walk through it and be transparent. And then you can shake it off. And at that time, you have grown remarkably. You've also proven to yourself that now you can move through fear. So once you do it, you can do it over and over and over again. But if you don't do it, you're going to resort to those old habits and things, right? And it's like, even when we only use those things so that we feel better in the moment. So if you can get through the discomfort of not having the thing, not having the food, the sugar, and you move through that, and you replace it with something healthy, of course, like let's say you're hungry and you actually nourish yourself. You know you're not hungry anymore, but you still want the thing. That's because you're uncomfortable. The fears have come up. If you take the thing, the fear is going to have power over you. But if you don't, you're going to have power of the fear, and that fear is going to start to get smaller, smaller, smaller. It's going to easier and easier to keep moving through it and through it and through it. So at
Hmm.
first, it's going to feel not so good,
Foreign.
but what exactly? Very, very foreign. But then you can start to reframe what that whole experience was. Oh, I'm growing. And so we said that in my groups and my programs a few years ago. We would all just go, I'm growing. And that would mean I'm sitting here in tremendous discomfort. And
Yeah.
all I want to do is go run away and hide or go grab the thing that makes me feel good. But I'm going to miss out on growing. I will not
Hmm.
evolve. I will not elevate. So we just would say, I'm growing, and everyone would know what that meant because
Hmm. I love that.
that was the positive reframe.
Yeah, I love that. And there's some statistic out there about the things we worry about. It's very low percent of what actually comes true of the things we worry about. I don't know what it is, but it's in the single digits of what actually materializes about the things that we worry about. But all of that brings up the topic of stress because we know stress can make cravings worse for those of us that want to lean into processed food for comfort. And do you want to talk about some simple ways to calm down when stress or fears, things like that, are strong so that you are in a position where you're not turning to food for something outside yourself for comfort, that you're able to help calm yourself on the inside without turning to external substances?
Well, yeah, there's so many different things, and you have to find out what works for yourself.
I agree.
But if you're in the house, get out of the house is what I say. Like, because those
Yeah.
cupboards can mysteriously start to open. And then you're just unconsciously doing things that
Yeah.
you don't even know, and it's like, how did I get here? So
Hmm.
you have to remove yourself from where you're at. And I always say nature and fresh air, it changes me instantly. I
I
could be
agree.
feeling, I mean, so many different things, anxiety, worry, I could be tired. I step foot outside and I'm a new person.
I agree.
So most times we can do that. I mean, if it's a blizzard, guess what? I'm putting on my boots and my hat and my goggles and I'm going out there because I need to feel the elements. It revives me. And so removing yourself from a certain environment, like being inside refrigerator cupboards where you can get those easy, accessible foods, even at work, sometimes there's things out. Get yourself outside the building. So that's number one, if that's possible, right? If you're on an airplane, you probably can't do that. If you're in
Hmm.
a confined spot and you literally can't get out, like let's say you're in a car, I always practice breathing and breath work. And it's so simple. When you close your mouth and breathe through your nose, you're forced to breathe a little bit deeper. And even a box breath, just in 4 counts, hold 4 counts, out 4 counts, hold 4 counts. This is going to put your nervous system in the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, rather than the fight or flight mode. When you're in fight or flight, it's natural to want processed foods. You're thinking about what's the quickest thing to get this. Your brain's super smart. It's gonna say, how do I calm down the quickest? What is that? And most of the time, it's food, right?
Yeah.
The sugar, because it hits
Easy.
you instantly. So if I can get myself relaxed, and I know like even a yawn, I'm not even kidding, like yawning is actually a relaxed state. You're taking a deeper breath, you're calming down. There's also something I want to share that's super simple. And I didn't even know I was doing it until my mentors were living with me for a little bit. And Ivan, he used to say, "You do this all the time. Do you know you do the aha breath?" And I was like, "No." And it's just, that's all that is. It's a, and I must do this all the time because he noticed and he said, "That's actually proven. And people tell you to do this consciously, where you breathe in, if you breathe in a little more, and then you just do a, you're relaxing yourself. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, when you're relaxed, when you're chill, you don't, you won't have that craving. It won't even be there because you don't need it. So I do think though, checking yourself to make sure, am I really hungry? Because we go, go, go. We talked about this. We get in this masculine energy, hustle,
Yeah.
hustle, stress, stress, doing a million things. I know this. I see this with my girlfriends. I see this with clients. Sometimes I've had clients where they tell me they forget to eat. So
Oh.
if you forget to eat and you are in that kind of hurried, worried, stress mode, again, your brain's so smart. You're going to want to reach for the thing that instantly spikes that blood sugar, right? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
starving. You haven't fed
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So check yourself. Am I hungry? Okay, this would be a good time to take some deep breaths and make a nourishing meal. Most times when we have eaten a balanced meal that's nourishing of real whole foods, you don't have those cravings for the processed stuff because you
Yeah.
fed yourself, you've
Mm-hmm.
grounded yourself. So I will say, I do not intermittent fast anymore.
Me neither.
I nourish myself. I believe a woman, I mean, I'm in my later 40s, I'm going to be 48. A well-fed body for a female is so important for your vitality, for your health, for
Yeah.
lower stress, for
Mm-hmm.
higher energy. If you're going to put yourself, it's a man can, I see this all the time. They can go all day and not eat and even be hungry and be fine. They're built completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't listen anymore to any of the stuff on I don't. I'm like, no, my body is so happy. I'm so much calmer. So all these
Mm-hmm.
things are really important to combat stress. Like I don't think it's healthy to leave your house and not eat food in the morning. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you've just been starving the whole night. You're
Mm-hmm.
dehydrated. Doesn't mean you wake up and you eat a huge meal, but you've got to, if you were taking care of a child, would you let
Yeah.
them leave the house without eating?
Right.
No. But so we have to honor our inner children and our body, and we have to properly take care of ourselves and nourish ourselves. So those are some things that I would say would really help. I mean, if you don't have a morning routine for your head and I hear people just get up, drink their coffee and go. I would never do that because my
Right.
cortisol is going to be woo, I'm going to be
Yeah.
shaky. Then I'm going to reach for the things, the sugar and the
Mm-hmm.
processed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So to be grounded, what does that look like for you? I asked that question for me. What does that look like for me to stay grounded, to feel calm? Anything, a hurricane can come, an avalanche, anything can come any day. You have got to be, if you're already stressed, can you imagine what that's going to do? And that's what leads to disease eventually.
I
You get
agree.
stress, 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 disease, disease in your mind, then disease in your body. And it's up to a point of no return. Is it worth it? Is my question. For me, I decided absolutely not. So I just don't put anything first that's not me before I do anything else. And then I'm able to navigate the stressors that are just going to come. They just will. You don't know.
Yeah.
You can't hide out from them. They'll be in your house.
That kind of leads into the topic about I've heard you talk about how you've changed how you see yourself before making some of the big changes that you've made in your life or identity shift work. Do you think people need to see themselves differently before their food habits change? And if so, what does that process look like? How do people start seeing themselves differently? And how important do you think that is?
Oh, well, yeah. Identification is like, who are you identifying with? To ask that
Mm-hmm.
question. Are you identifying with your old versions of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
can you re-identify with who you're choosing to become? That's really
Mm-hmm.
the question is,
Mm-hmm.
okay, who am I choosing to become? And it's the same if we're going full circle, because if you think about the question in the beginning in terms of, I said, one of the most important things is always to focus on what you're creating versus what you've lost and what you've had. So you're focusing on the present and what you want to create in the future versus what's already happened and any old paradigms. So now, same thing with your identification. Who do I really truly believe I am? And I believe I'm this divine goddess. And so when I look, I do this. I really do. I look in the mirror, not as I used to for vanity and obsession and picking myself apart. I make sure I check myself every day and just give myself a wink. I smile and I like, damn, you're beautiful. All the things that I would ever want to hear from someone else, I'm giving that to myself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
self-validating,
Mm-hmm.
self-affirming, and I'm identifying with, again, this beautiful bombshell every single day, this badass, this goddess, my divine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I tap into. That's so important. So if anyone's in this sort of re-identification, write down who you believe that you really are. Like the greatest version of yourself. List it all and identify with those things every single day versus who you used to be, because that's an old version of yourself, and you can decide to be that and identify with that, but you will live over here. And that's why so many people get stuck and they don't believe that they can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're stuck in the muck, it's so hard to get out.
Yeah.
When you start re-identifying and seeing yourself differently, like, oh my gosh, you have, then you can make those moves. Like, I keep tripping out on the fact that I actually decided to live my dreams. I've always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to live in Colorado since I was in college. And I don't know how I never got here. But now I identify with the person who chooses to live her dreams and actually takes those actions to make them happen. I
Mm-hmm.
also identify with a woman who doesn't work all day, who works
Mm-hmm.
on myself and makes sure that I'm in my divine feminine, in that softness, no more hustle, no more stress mode. I don't need to live that way. And so now I know my value. So when you
Mm-hmm.
identify with your true value, you work differently. You only work with people who value you and who value your time and pay for that time. So I can have one or two clients paying me the value that I am versus 22 to 30 clients who I'm exhausted by and pay me less because they devalue, because I devalued my own self. So did you
Makes sense.
see? Yeah, so this whole re-identification, it's a conscious and quantum flip that you can create. Anyone can, because I did. I'm not any
Mm-hmm.
different than anyone else. You literally, and we'll go back to that word, it's a choice and it's a decision.
Mm-hmm.
My ebook is pretty simple. It's a workbook. So I really would recommend it because it's only 5 steps and you just do one at a time. You can't go to the last step. You've got to do one, two, three, four, five. It's no more than five. And it's okay if they take a little bit of time. But there's also this journal section that's really important that keeps you very, very accountable. It keeps you very high in your gratitude and in your joy, in your recreation. And so I really believe that once you have this new formula for a new way of living, you will start to see these little changes externally. And you're like, oh my gosh, I did that. So
Mm-hmm.
the external, it's all a creation of your internal.
Oh, totally.
And once you change this, the world around you, like people look at me and say, don't you think the world is in a horrible state? This is the worst time. And I don't see that. I
Mm-hmm.
literally don't live in that same world. I've
Mm-hmm.
created something different in here. And I understand that there's pairs of opposites. So there's always going to be, the good and the bad and the
Mm-hmm.
the light in the dark. So, of course, it's not going to be all good. But when I see it's good in here, my world is good. And I create from that place. So, if you're thinking the world is horrible and you're stressed every day, I dated someone like this, and he was just hated the president and hated this and thought he blamed the world for everything bad that was happening in his life and everyone else's life. And I had to remove myself because I said I can't be in that energetic field. It's too
Hmm.
easy to be influenced by, right? And I'm in this. I did not see anything that he was seeing, and I said, when you hate, doesn't that make you feel stressed inside? You know? And he couldn't see the way that I was living. He just couldn't get there, right?
Yeah.
But he was making a choice, and so was
Hmm.
I. And so
Yeah. Oh, I
who
love
has
that.
that, right? So that's very empowering. Is you get to decide, how am I going to change the world in me? And
Yeah.
when you do that and you re-identify with who you're choosing to become, the world outside of you completely shifts and changes. And what you magnetize and attract also does. So those are big signs that you
Yeah, I agree with that, that you do attract what you put out there. There's some saying about what you put out in the universe will come to find you. I do
hmm
believe that. And when you were talking about talking to yourself, telling yourself you're beautiful and capable and all those things, one thing that I've started doing since my husband passed is every night when I go to bed, I literally pat myself on the shoulders and I say, "Good job, Paige. You did so good today. You're being so
Yes.
brave. You're doing just a great job." And sometimes I pat myself real hard and sometimes it's just a little squeeze. But I actually feel it like as if someone, the universe, is giving me kudos that you made it through another day. And I know these early days are really challenging and sometimes it's hour to hour that feels challenging. So reinforcing that and sending
Yes.
myself that message, I think it's done wonders for
I
me.
love that you just said that, because every day that when I get into bed, I do a very similar thing, and I'm just like, you killed it today.
Yeah.
I'm like, what, in whatever happened, it doesn't matter. It's like, I got through this day, I moved through this day, and I am so proud of myself. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. And when I wake up,
Hmm.
I notice that I woke up, that I'm still here. And I say, I am that I am, and that is enough. I am that I am, and that is enough. Those are the first words that come into my head. And I think I have another day ahead of me. My old paradigm was, I can't wait for this day to be over.
Hmm.
I can't wait to hide and
Hmm.
be in my bed and isolate myself. And I didn't want to wake up. When I woke up, I was dreading the whole day. That's a huge shift. I can't
Hmm.
wait to take on the day and see
Hmm.
what unfolds. And when there's a
Hmm.
gift and a surprise, I just laugh and I smile
Hmm.
and I look up and say, thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even say thank you repetitively as I'm walking. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Something happens if anyone wants to try this. It's super fun. The more you say thank you, it's an overjoy is what it is. That just bubbles up and you just start to feel so happy
Yeah.
because you realize how blessed you are. And I think
Yeah.
that people forget that even if we've had a tragedy, even if we've lost someone, we came into this world alone. We leave this world alone. And during the time that we are living on this earth, people come and go. Different experiences happen, but you remain. So you got to remember you are the blessing.
Yeah.
And but what happens is we get so attached to who comes into our life. It's like we cling on. This is our identity now as a wife or a mother. And then when we lose a child, or the child leaves, or the husband dies, who are we then? So this gives us a chance to re-identify with our divine nature, with our gifts and talents, with our individuality, with this beautiful, blessed being that we are. That is, if you come into each day with that understanding, nothing can affect you negatively.
I agree. Gratitude's huge, especially people that are recovering from the effects of ultra processed food use disorder. Gratitude, 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 gratitude. It colors everything in your life. It just makes a huge mental shift down to a cellular level.
Absolutely. It will change you.
One of the things that you talked about is you stayed home today and rested instead of going out and killing it on the slopes today, which I told you I thought was very wise to listen to your body because we all feel like we need to be in the hustle, 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 hustle. And one of the things is I've noticed is when we stay in the hustle, we don't always take the time to just sit and be still. For some reason, being still can feel very scary to people because then you have the opportunity for these emotions to creep in
Yes.
that you, when you're busy, you can drown them out, drown them out, drown them out. So, do you want to talk about how learning to slow down can help people stop using food to cope with feelings? And why do you think people are so afraid of feelings and emotions anyway?
Well, again, I think that this is cultural. We've been programmed to produce so much, to be producers and to be like massively
Mm-hmm.
productive, and
Mm-hmm.
then rewarded for that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
it's this workhorse mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the
Mm-hmm.
work hard, play hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear this all the time. And again, I think it's different for men and women. Men are actually built to hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be really good for them. I'm talking about from a woman's perspective. For me, when we are in that hustle, it keeps you in fight or flight. It keeps you
Yes.
survivor.
Agree.
The
Agree.
reason slowing down is so scary, and we're going to come back to the same thing we've said, it's just something that's different and new. That's all it is. It's new. That you're just sitting there and you don't know. You're just like, what is this? It's just new. And so when we are able to actually remember, oh, this is just different. And I have a friend, she's got twin girls. They're only like 3 years old. Her husband's a pilot. He's gone most of the time. She heard my reel about the masculine and feminine. And the first step I say to come back to that feminine energy is slow down.
Hmm.
And remember that this is a new feeling because you've been going, going, doing, doing. And I would say for most of your life, let's just say, even for 20 years, and all of a sudden you decide to slow down, your whole body chemistry and all the chemicals are telling you you're in a wrong place, something's wrong, you need to go do something. That's why it's so hard. I had to literally move to the top of a mountain, 12,000 feet up, with only 5,000 people in this town, to really tap into a permanent, consistent way of living in this slowed down manner.
Hmm.
Even here, it's still hard
Hmm.
because I can sense other people go, 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 do, do, do. And even some of my friends who I love dearly are in that constant work mode. And I have decided not to be. And so my brother's here. Of course, he's in his masculine. I have to remember that. That's normal for him. I don't have to be in that though. And I woke up today. We had a full, I mean, my ski came off twice, so I flipped around, have to change my bindings, whatever. But we were in basically blizzard conditions yesterday for hours, and I hadn't even skied in a couple weeks. So this is a lot on your nervous system. This is a
Hmm.
lot on your body. And I woke up and did not feel energized, did not, my neck hurt. I could have taken medication. I could have whatever, covered it up, eaten some foods that got me going, and then got out the door to go skiing. But that mode, I know the consequences of that.
Hmm.
And so I just said, I texted him immediately this morning because we're in the other room and I said, I'm not skiing today. I'm taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have practiced this and also not feeling bad about it because
Yes.
people will pressure you and oh just
Mm-hmm.
I was with my friend the other day and this is not her fault. But we had gone skiing and I was with her in her car and she's like, "Oh, can we stop at the boot store because I want to check if they have these okay. Oh, can we stop at Whole Foods because I needed to pick up some groceries." But then she ends up on the phone and I could feel my body just so tired. And that those are the moments when we start to pick up the foods.
Yes.
And so you put yourself in a position that's harmful
Mm-hmm.
and you risk your sobriety. And so I noticed myself and I even when I got home, I was exhausted and I had a date that night and then I tried really hard, to relax, but it was only like an hour and I got sick. I got really sick. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what happens to me. I don't blame other people. Oh, it's the flu and this person gave it to me. My immunity gets low when I
Mm-hmm.
don't take care of myself and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not eating great and whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, then I get sick
Mm-hmm.
so there's a whole series of events that happen. So the moment I start to feel tired or run down, I change my whole day. I change my whole plans. I say no to people. And I even mentioned to that friend, I said, that was too much for me. I needed to go home. Next time I'll drive separate because I didn't stand up for myself. It's not her
Yes.
fault. I needed to
Yes.
say no. But
Mm-hmm.
I people pleased. So
Yep.
that's on me.
I
And you know
agree.
what? When I got sick though, I didn't punish myself. I didn't get mad at myself. What I said is this is a good sacred pause. This is a time to reset and
Mm-hmm.
remember that I need to put myself first. I need to
Mm-hmm.
stand up for myself. I need to speak up for myself. So every time that happens, it's kind of reinforcement to say, okay, I look back, what didn't I do? And what can I do starting right now to protect my recovery, to protect my health, to protect my happiness, and to see that I don't go back into that masculine energy, basically.
Yeah, and when people try to fix themselves quickly, I think you miss out on a lot of lessons, right? Instead of just going slow, paying attention, learning lessons. I think a lot of those lessons get glossed over when you just try to rush things. And really, do you really learn deep lessons when you're rushing through healing?
No, that's why I call it a sacred pause. And I don't
Yeah,
know how long it's going to be,
yeah,
but I know that there's silver linings and blessings. There's a lot of
yeah,
self-reflection that can happen in that time.
yeah,
And I know we all want to go live our lives, but living our lives in this beautiful manner of calmness and of
yeah.
peace is actually
Hmm.
where you're going to gain the most health, most energy. That's also where your creativity comes from, where
Yeah,
you can and your re-identification comes from.
yeah. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like which place do you want to live? Over here where you
Hmm.
know you've lived before,
Hmm.
where it hasn't really served your highest vision and version of yourself, or this new place that might only feel uncomfortable because it's new, because you don't
Hmm.
know it. But that lets
Hmm.
you know you're in
Hmm.
this new beautiful phase and chapter,
Yeah,
and it's worth celebrating.
yeah. I want to be respectful of your time, but I would love to get one more question in if you don't mind. And I just want to ask for someone who wants to change but scared, change is scary. What's one small step so it can reduce the fear and increase the chances of change happening? What's one small step they can take today to make healthier choices? No, nothing, no big dramatic overhaul, but what's a small
I mean,
step?
what just comes to me is just starting to believe in yourself.
I love that.
And that power from within is going to allow you to choose differently or make one choice or one different food choice, or, it doesn't, Rome wasn't built in a day. So just believing that it's possible and you're changing anyways. Even
Hmm.
if even in the old paradigm, like change is constant, right? So if you're gonna change, if things are changing anyways from inside and around, you may as well make positive changes. That's what I always say. You may as well change for the better. And so that one small step of just believing in yourself and just saying, I can, I am able to do this, this is possible. I think that is going to be probably the most powerful catalyst for all the other steps and changes.
Agree. Agree. And I don't know why it's so hard because I maybe it's because we're not wired to the negative, but I don't know why it is so hard to believe in yourself. And people are just so riddled with self-doubt, and it makes me sad.
Well, that goes into so one of the steps in my book, and this is what really catapulted me big time with my husband, being around someone who believes in themselves, that is key. So if there is a step and let's say, okay, I know I want to believe in myself, but and it doesn't have to mean like you have to be in physical proximity with that person. But it means, okay, if it's an author or if it's a podcast, right? Listen to that person that inspires you because it's catchy. It is contagious self-belief. You can get my book on Amazon, The Power of Self-Belief, but just being in the inspiration of someone else who has it will eventually help you shift into yours.
Contagious. It's contagious. I
Yes.
do believe that positivity is contagious. And I do agree with surround yourself with those people that you want to emulate.
Yes, so that's a small step that you can do
Yeah.
today. It's
Yeah.
who is that,
Right now.
right now and just listen to that person. Or if that person's in your life, call up that person because
Yeah.
you can have proximity to them. And
Yeah.
so that will influence you so positively.
I love that. What a perfect note to end on. Oh my gosh, that was great. Do you want to give a shout out for yourself about where people can find you and advertise anything that you would want people to know about you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I love social. I'm on social media like every day and I'm posting positivity. So follow me on TikTok, Caren.Paskel. And my website is also it has all my books and my midlife crisis to creation book, workbook that I
Yeah.
think would be great for everybody. It's like
Yeah.
11.99. So
Yeah.
KarenPaskel.com is really simple to find that and everything else.
And that's Karen with a C for those of you that
Yes.
aren't watching us. And her last name, Pascal, is Paskel. And I will also put that in the show notes. So I
Thank
will
you
have
so
her
much,
website,
Paige.
KarenPaskel.com. It's been wonderful having you. As always, just a beautiful conversation. And if you want to find out more about us, you can find us at realfoodrecovery4u.com. That's the number four and the letter U. And our book, Real Food Recovery, If Food Isn't the Answer, What's the Question, is out on Amazon today. Thanks so much for being with us today, and we will see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.